Good morning and welcome to Equestrian Skill Builders. Do you ever get the feeling that your instructor or coach is not providing enough information to help you succeed, or you're frustrated as hell that you are repeating the same lesson over and over again? Today we're going to talk about what a good lesson should feel like and the main 3 things that your lesson should include. Hi there. I'm in a unique position of having been brought through the coaching system. I've traveled to England to get my British Horse Society certification and for teaching. And now I'm a coach evaluator and learning facilitator for the coaching program. And it distresses me to see and listen in on some lessons where coaches don't have a plan with their lesson or for their program. And today we're going to identify the 3 main things that you should be considered when you're taking or having a lesson, or if you're a coach, giving a lesson. And my name is Laura Kelland-May. Our guest today with me is Patrick Malone. Hi, Patrick. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Patrick is from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and is a regular visitor here in Equestrian Skill Builders. He's been involved in the equestrian community his entire life, being brought up through the Canadian Pony Club. He's certified as a competition coach and develops a strong emphasis with his students on developing skills with the rider to achieve their goals. His business includes freelance coaching and teaching, buying horses, retraining, and selling, as well as the development of young performance horses. Thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you.
And welcome everybody to Equestrian Skill Builders. If you have any comments or questions, please put them in the comments here. We'd love to hear from you. And if you'd like to improve your riding and training, win more ribbons at your next horse show, or generally like other horsey related stuff, then you are in the right place, because we talk about all those things and bring information from equestrians to you, equestrians. And my name is Laura Kelland-May, and I empower riders to go from no direction with their riding to feeling confident, in control, and in harmony with their horses, so they can go to a competition and enjoy their horse. I live in Ottawa. I'm an Equestrian Canada senior judge and steward, and I can give you an inside track to those winning performances in the show ring. Now, as I said, you're welcome to join in the conversation. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. And now, Patrick, how do you know? You do a lot of teaching, a lot of freelance stuff. You go to other stables, you listen to other coaches. How do you know if you're getting a good lesson? Like if you take a lesson, well, for example, if you take a lesson, what are you looking for when you're taking a lesson?
I would say number 1 would be the interaction with the coach and the student, how they interact and how they communicate. I think a big thing with coaching is the way coaches deliver things, because we teach all different types of people, right? Not everybody learns the same way. So I'm big on, how is the stuff getting delivered in a way that the student understands? So for me, it's got to be a relationship and understanding between coach and rider, and you have to make sure that the coach that's delivering or teaching you is delivering it correctly, so you understand it.
That's so important. And I know that for me, if I'm taking a lesson or giving a lesson, I think it's really important that people who are riding the lesson, they should learn something new. Like it shouldn't always be, okay, today we're going to learn how to do 2-point position, or today we're going to learn how to do posting trot, or today we're going to do the shoulder in, or today we're going to do leg yield. It should be but it should be learning something new. But also, if you already know stuff, for example, if I go to a clinic and take a lesson from somebody, if I do shoulder in, I'm sure I know how to do shoulder in. I'm either learning something new or I'm refining that skill, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just traffic control. No, what if I said that to you, what do you hear when I say traffic control?
no purpose, no plan, riding around the ring doing nothing, working on nothing, coaching nothing. It's very common. And it's not that the coach doesn't have the ability or not. I think it's just, it's the you know, a lot of it is just coaches don't want to take the time. They don't want to teach something different. They want to keep things the same. They want to keep students. They want to keep the money coming in. You know, I've been in a lot of situations where I've had coaches or riders tell me, oh, I've been riding for this long and this is what we've done in our lessons. And at the end of it, they've learned nothing.
Right. So they just get told, okay, so go across the diagonal, change the rein, change
jump
your
that jump.
jump that jump. So there's no actual there's no meat, there's no analysis. Like, okay, this is good, you're doing great, or you're doing good because you've done this, this, and this. But you need to improve this, this, and this, and this is how you actually improve those things. So that's what I call traffic control. Just, okay, change the rein, good. Now go over the jump this direction, good. Now go on the inside track, leg heel to the track, good. Turn down the center line, good. So it's just telling people what to do. And they're not learning anything. They're following direction. There's no application.
And good, the word good is not teaching. That's not a, you know, why was it good?
Exactly.
You know, I've seen lessons where the coach just says, good, that's good. Oh, that's really good. Well, that's not teaching. That's not giving that kid any direction or any feedback or any structure to, hey, what happened at that jump? Why was that jump good? Or why was that leg yield good? Or why was it bad? We don't touch a lot on the bad because people don't like the negative criticism. They want to feel like they can do it all. But I think in riding and in anything, you need to hear the good and the bad and the ugly, and you need to be able to fix everything. You know, somebody standing in the middle and spitting out good to me is not a coach.
Well, it doesn't give you any point of reference as to how to improve. And that's why we're taking riding lessons. And that's not just kids either, right? It's not just junior people. It's also adults. Yeah, they want to hear that it's good, but they also, particularly adults, I think, want to know how they can get better. And this also is, you have to divide the line, and we're going to touch on this, to what their goals are, what they want, what the student wants to do. Are they a recreational rider and they want to go around and just try to do traffic control? Well, that's okay. But are they really gearing up and buckling down to get into a competition and get to the championships at the end of the year? And that, you know, we're going to touch on this a little bit later about those things that we need to touch on. Yeah, so instructors have good communication.
There's structure to the lesson, and structure meaning there is a plan and a lesson plan in place. And we get slack on people not doing lesson plans. I mean, or have the lesson plan written in your head. You know, it becomes repetitive, right? A lot. So it's easy to kind of get away from that. But, you know, if you don't have a structure to the lesson and the topic of the lesson is, you know, shortening and lengthening, or, you know, finding the perfect takeoff spot, or where's the perfect takeoff spot, there's got to be progression for that. Because if you're starting at the beginning and you didn't start at the beginning and you went right to your, I don't know, jumping a course.
And why was that?
There's nothing being taught. I mean, there's too many people just going into lessons and all they want to do is jump courses. Well, that's not really learning anything about riding, or learning how to fix the jump, or learning how to get to the jump, or learning rhythm, or why does your corner suck, or What's a good corner feel like? What's a good turn feel like? Are you straight?
And why is it important to do that good turn? And why is it important to keep the balance? Yeah. So you're kind of going ahead to the, what are the top 3 things that we should include in the riding? And the first one is it's got to have in the riding lesson. The first one, it's got to have a structure. And there are specific set things that need to be checked off to have a proper lesson and a proper progression in your lesson. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. If you write them all out, there are 6 things that your lesson should include when you're teaching or when you're receiving a lesson. And they may just be touch points, or they may, but these are the 6 things that we're going to kind of talk about. Okay, I got to get rid of that banner. Introduction. So, like you say, you have to know what you're talking about. So what would an introduction include? Today we're going to learn about
introduce the topic, explain how to do the topic, and you're then into the next phase, right? I mean, if you come in and riders are all over the place and you say, oh, we're going to jump a course today. I mean, there's no topic. You haven't introduced a topic. So, I mean, that's repetitive. So yeah, introduction. And, if you're teaching a new person, maybe you need to introduce yourself so they can get an idea of what you know or where's your experience, right? You fill in for somebody or you do clinics. I mean, it's an introduction on both sides, I think is.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And so you get to know exactly about the horse too. Maybe the horses, they signed up for something and that you want to know what their depth is and what their knowledge is as well. Yeah. So the introduction, and also in that introduction, a quick tack check just to make sure everybody's safe. Girths and stirrups and all that. So then the second, so that's part 1 of the lesson structure. Part 2 is the warm-up. And we have to remember that horses and riders are athletes. So a warm-up is important to the structure of the lesson. What are some things that we need to include in the warm-up?
Well, I always tell my students, if I'm teaching 1 person or 4 people, tailor your warm-up to what the introduction was. What's the topic, right? You may do a few different things in your warm-up depending on what you're doing in the lesson program, right? Or the program.
Yes.
The basics, is, transitions, circles, making sure your horse is off the aids, listening to the aids, making sure the horse you've got some contact, establishing a rhythm. Make sure your horse is in front of your leg going forward. So, maybe you could do some lateral stuff. But I don't think in cases that's not really being done. A warm-up people portray as, oh, we're going around the ring 50 times, right? Then we change direction and we go 50 times the other way. Well, you haven't done anything to warm up your horse. And then you've got students say, well, my horse doesn't listen, or my horse won't go forward, or my horse is not straight, or my horse won't slow down, or
on the other hand of that is that they find out that their horse the next day may be sore or a little bit off because they haven't warmed up their muscles properly. So that's the other part of it too. Is you have to make sure you warm up because they are athletes, right?
Yeah.
Right. So then so that's like the first 2 things. And then you get into the exercises, what exercises we're going to do. So we've done the introduction. We know what's going to happen, what the lesson topic is. We've done a bit of warm up, changes of pace, changes of rein, circles, turns, changes of pace, changes of rein for your warm up. Doesn't have to take long, maybe 5 or 10, 5 minutes. And then you start in with the exercises, and the exercises being exercises that are linked to the topic, relevant to the topic that you're going to be working on. That's where the guts of the lesson isn't here? Exercises. Right?
Yeah.
And then once you get the exercises, I like where you said before, the progression. So you introduce the topic, you start the topic, and then you progress. You don't just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. You progress. So what's an example of a progression that you can give people who are watching?
So we could use the one I did for my coaching exam. Like I had to teach a related distance. I mean, most people don't know what a related distance is, and so the exercise was quite simple. I did 60 feet, pole to pole, right? I also had at the back of my mind that I may encounter problems with 60 feet, right? What happens if I have a horse that's rushing? And we don't want the exercise to go the opposite way. We want it to be positive so you can progress through it. So when I was doing it, I had found the 4 students that I was teaching, because I had all different horses. I brought it into 55 feet because I didn't want horses rushing the exercise. And the whole thing was, built around a pole to a pole, 55 feet, turn, being straight, canter rhythm, using the corner. If we didn't conquer the pole to pole, I didn't go ahead. Not going to put up.
You
So
didn't go
that's
ahead with your
progression
progression.
Well, that was progression 1. When I felt like we did it both directions, right, and it was done properly, then the second progression went up, which was pole to an X, right? Same thing, looking for the same things. If that was done well, 2 jumps went up. X to X, X to vertical. Then the jumps, if that was 1 and you had exceeding students, then you would maybe make them a bit higher. The idea is that exercise wasn't to change, and there were so many things on that exercise to work on. And the root of it was, you have to give feedback. There has to be feedback from the start to the finish for those students to understand, what, and you have to say, how did that feel? How did that feel? Tell me what you felt there. That's not being done. The whole part of riding is, that student's the one on the horse. They need to feel what's happening. So you can deliver the exercise and teach it. You've got to have the students give you feedback and feel it.
Right. So
it is a difficult exercise for a lot of people.
Specifically that exercise. Yep. So asking people how it went and giving feedback on, yes, I really like the way you kept the horse straight. Next time to keep them straighter, or next time to prevent a drift to the right, give a correction. So it's not just, oh, that was good. You give pointed, specific exercise, specific good, bad, or ugly, and specific directions on how to correct it if it's not going well. Like you say, you concentrated on the exercise. The topic was stride control between over 2 poles. The first exercise was 2 poles on the ground off the right rein. So you do that with the corrections. Okay, how did that feel? So, and you ask how it feels. And why do you ask how it feels?
So they can feel what feels good and what feels bad and needs to be corrected. Everything, you're feeling the horse do. Did you feel that horse do that? Again, this is an exercise that shouldn't be done as a group. It should be done one at a time. There's got to be analyzing, and those other students that are in that lesson should be watching. They should be analyzing. This exercise, if it was not done correctly, would typically be probably a bunch of people canting around with no control over 2 poles, and then built up really fast, right? So again, you're going to get so much more out of the structure of the progressions and actually teaching than just having everybody go around. And so that, and the other one I found really hard too was, I taught this in lessons, and it was changing lead through trot across the diagonal. The biggest thing is, we have to have the students understand, what aids we're using and responsive of the aids, and how many trot steps did you have? And then nobody had any idea. Nobody has an idea, right?
No. So
they don't do this exercise.
They need to be specific, right? You need to be specific on what it is that you really want to see.
So it's really interesting when you take people you haven't taught before and you've got some kind of a structure to the way you teach, and at the end of it they go, wow, like I didn't realize I didn't know that. Or I've had parents say, oh, my kid didn't really know much, right? Well, they might have known stuff or bits and pieces, but were they actually riding and being taught? Possibly not. So structure, progression, and then with the new coaching and that, the progressions, I feel the progressions is dead on. I think we coaches should be using it. It demonstrates a lot of your ability. It demonstrates a lot of ability for a rider and horse. And it really shows if you follow this, your lesson could be quite successful.
Excellent. Okay, I guess I'm back. Was I frozen there for a while? Yeah, so the progressions are very important to make sure that people understand it and that things don't get bored, that it does stay fresh, and that you are, and as a coach instructor, analyzing what's happening and giving feedback to the rider. So we're moving on: introduction, warm up, exercise, progression, and then there's the cool down. The cool down could be, what do you include in your cool down, Patrick? Like what you've done your exercises, so what do you include in there?
Long rein, stretching. Again, not sitting there like a blob and cool down. You're still riding. You're still working on, you've got to be sitting up. You're still working on your position, still involved. You're getting your horse to stretch. You still have a little bit of contact. Your reins aren't floating in the air and your legs aren't flapping all over the place. Make sure your horse's heart rate's back if it's a hot day, So again, you can't just do the exercise, do the lesson, get off and throw your horse away. There's, cool down's important too, which is part of the lesson.
Yeah, it's part of the lesson, so that riders and students understand that the horse is an athlete and that there is a portion of it. Just like if you are going to exercise, you do a warm up, you do your exercises, and then you do a cool down after. The same with the horse. It's also a great opportunity to teach the respiration and temperature of the horse, how to take those things that are really important things to stress. If you are having people who are new to riding and new to horses, that's a great way to introduce that as well. And then the final portion is the conclusion, which is where you kind of wrap up and you give each person a little tidbit of what they did well, what they could work on, what they could improve upon, and maybe even some homework. Like, do you give homework to your students to do in between?
I always give them exercises, or and I hope that students understand that they should be asking. If you own your own horse and you take a lesson a week and you're riding in between, again, you still have to have a plan and some structure to your riding. So homework, exercises, things to work on. But I think on the conclusion part of concluding the exercise and things they need to work on, you should be asking the student what they think they should work on, or what they felt, 3 things they felt were really good in the lesson, or 3 things they felt that needed to be polished up, or self-awareness and self-thinking, right? And understanding how the horse moves, and putting that all together. Like, this is like a puzzle. Coaches may not, there's coaches out there that don't know as much as others. There's some that know lots, but you're there to give your students the constructive feedback. Constructive, I'm meaning you got to listen to the bad stuff too. There's not good in everything, and the good can turn. So
you've got We've got Randy Thompson here. Thank you so much, Randy, for taking time and commenting here. Really appreciate it. Great tips. I would also suggest that all instructors learn how to ask their students questions. So rather than just a yes and no question, but also to make sure that they understand. It's a great way to have your riders really confirm that they do understand what it is that you're asking of them. Okay, so here's another one. Thank you, Randy. Many instructors just tell their riders what to do without evaluating what they're learning, in which case can be done with questions and getting that feedback. Yeah, so what I call that traffic control, when they just tell their what to do. And great comments. Thank you so much, Randy, about with those. Tell the riders what to do without evaluating what they are really learning. So asking the right questions to make sure that your students understand the knowledge that you are imparting on them is really important. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand how to ask questions. And I think sometimes it's because maybe the instructors don't know what should the rider really be feeling, so they're uncomfortable asking questions, or they don't even think about asking questions because it never crosses their mind. They just keep telling, sit up, look up, put your left leg on, use your outside rein more, rather than just taking a breath and backing up the bus and saying, okay, that's better. Do you feel what happened there when you put your inside leg on? Did you feel the horse? Blah. That's important.
Yeah, I think just telling somebody that they need to put their leg on, that means nothing. That's really a conversation that is not even, you can't even talk about it. I mean, if I told a student, put your leg on, you know, they're just gonna, what happens if the leg is on? Maybe it's not on correctly. Maybe it needs to be adjusted. Maybe they're not feeling what it feels like to have the leg on. So the thing is, you can't just tell somebody, hey, just, you know, put your leg on or go faster. Go faster is not a good term.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay. So Randy says, I feel that I'm guessing the instructors or coaches do not know how to ask questions yet. So it's important that you start asking questions as a teacher and instructor to confirm what it is that you want and to get your students on the same page as you are. So did you feel that, or what did you feel? I really, if I ask a student a question and I say, what did you do to make that happen? Or what did you feel when your horse went around the corner? And they say, well, I don't know. Well, I know that I'm not doing my job. They are not able to feel what the horse is doing. And that's really what I'm hoping that I'll be able to instill in riders is learn how to feel. And I think by asking the right questions, you can get riders to start to learn to feel and understand what it is that's happening underneath them. So we got another comment here from Lindy. Thank you so much, Lindy. I appreciate you commenting and taking time to visit with us this morning. I appreciate when a coach asks me to explain what felt different when I get something right. It really helps me to slow down and concentrate on feel. That's right. That's so true. A lot of people are so intent on getting the exercise done or jumping the jump or doing the circle that they forget, hey, I got to feel what's going on underneath me here, and I got to feel what the horse is doing. And it's up to the coach to say, how did that feel? What was different about that time? So you, as the rider, get to equate what my leg did and what the horse did as a result of that. It's a process, though, isn't it, Patrick?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Excellent. Those are all excellent comments. Thank you so much for commenting, everybody. Okay, so let's get back to riding progressions. That's the second thing. That's a part of the lesson structure, but each lesson should have a riding progression. It should have the exercises and the riding progressions. And to me, this is really a really important part of it. Which one is it? This one, the progressions. And so much so that I think that if you're having a lesson the riding progression should be really prominent in the lesson, not just starting at the at the end of the lesson, like what you said. If you're having a jumping lesson, starting with jumping the course, it should kind of build up to something. So, what's your take on riding progressions, Patrick?
Well, they're not done.
Sometimes they're not done. They're not
Very
done
few. And
properly.
I've watched, I've gone to different barns. I've watched different people teach. And again, I don't think it's that the ability is not there. I think we teach so many younger kids and teenagers, and the only thing that keeps them absorbed into riding and keeps them attent is jumping. So we get lost in, what's the correct stuff and getting these kids to ride correctly and feel and learn and develop. And we get stuck in the traffic control. And, there's the other aspect of some people just don't care. They've got 52 students that come a week, and, there's a lot of planning, right? A kid on a horse is a happy kid. Lots of
Right.
parents don't even know what a good lesson looks like. Parents watch. How do they know that it's get your parents to ask questions. The parents should start to look and analyze, and just because Johnny's going around in a circle and cantering, what's happening?
So
my kid's off 10 times a week.
What does a progression look like? So walk us through what a progression would look like if you were taking let's say you were giving a lesson. You're giving a lesson to somebody. What would a progression look like that would be satisfy the rider and satisfy the horse and satisfy the parent and satisfy the teacher, instructor, or the person that you're working for, the person that's hosting the lesson?
Well, a good progression would be a good warm-up, starting with your warm-up and then explaining what the topic is. There needs to be a topic in the lesson, not just jumping a course. Break it down. Like, hey,
so what would the topic be? A topic would be cantering a single fence, or a balanced turn to start, or the circle at the beginning of your course, or a rollback turn, or cantering a 4-stride line. So it's something specific. It's not just jumping a course. I mean, that's something that you would do at the end.
Well, if you can't get to a single fence and find the best takeoff spot, you should not be jumping more jumps. Progression 1. Single fence, pole, canter to that pole. If you're struggling to get to that pole, why are we going to go put up
over a 2'6" course?
I can't understand it. So, hey, if this is successful, hey, progression 2, cross rail. How do you get to the cross rail? Oh, did you feel that? How was your takeoff spot? Was it too close? Was it too far? Was it good? Did you feel the takeoff spot? I don't know is not a good answer, so we repeat it till they know, right? Again, it's feedback. There is the takeoff spot correctly. So progression 3, they get over a cross rail, maybe we make it an oxer, maybe we make it a vertical. Jump it both, change direction. Does it feel different left than it does on the right? Put it on a diagonal, change the way that the jump is. There's so many things you can teach with just one jump, and there's so many things you can teach with just a pole. All the horses jump. If all you're doing is jumping, your horse is going to break down after a while, and you're really not working on anything within the jumping. You're just jumping. So the progression for me would be, you're dealing with a green horse. Why are we jumping a course, right? So again, not just rider aspect, but horse aspect. If you're dealing with a greener horse, then you've got to do different things in exercises, right? May not be exciting for the rider, but you have to tailor the exercise a bit different. So it just depends on who you're teaching and what horse they have. if you've got a mix, and the other thing I see too is different levels of riders with different levels of horses in a group lesson. It is really hard for a coach to do a proper lesson program and progression with a mix of everybody. They really need to be with the appropriate group and appropriate level. And a green horse that's barely jumping doesn't have the same expectations of the 3 horses that go around and jump a 2'6" course and have the capabilities. So, maybe that person needs to be in privates. Maybe that person needs to ride with a different rider that's got the horses at the same level. So there's a combination of both. But,
Yeah.
progressions for me is, if they don't have an understanding at the beginning of the pole, how are they going to have an understanding at the 3-foot oxer?
Well, that hopefully doesn't happen. So we do have another comment here from Randy. Randy, thank you so much for the comments. Also, now many students are doing the horse thing as an activity, and they do not have the love for horses that we do and never have. Okay. Also, many students are doing the horse thing as like they do not have the love, and we do and never will. It's a social thing for them. They will never be as disciplined as we would like them to do, and the instructors learns how to entertain more than instruct. That is such a good point, Randy. Thank you so much for making that point. That is exact. That kind of hits the nail right on the head, doesn't it? It is keeping the kids busy and active as an entertainment thing rather than learning about horses. I mean, Patrick, when you were learning to ride, you had access to a horse. You remember you telling me you used to ride your bike or walk to the stable, and it wasn't close. It was miles away.
No, I walked up hills, and I was at the barn for 8 hours. I have a passion for it, and I have the drive. To me, it's not a social thing. It's a learning and developing thing. I'm a coach, so I get it. There's a lot of parents that say, hey, little Billy wants to take riding lessons. So Randy says you're entertaining somebody for an hour, right? Or you're entertaining somebody for 45 minutes. Again, depends on your program, and it depends on who you're teaching. If you've got a barn full of show kids, there needs to be structure. You're developing these riders. If you've got a birthday party going on and you're doing pony rides, well, yeah, it's a bit different, right?
Right, exactly. So that gets us to point number 3, and what makes a good riding lesson. And you touched on it a little bit, actually, is the lesson and riding is based on the ability and the age appropriateness of the person taking the lesson, and also what this person is doing. For example, just exactly what you said. If they are gearing up to go to the championship versus, like you say, doing a pony ride or a recreational rider where it's mostly entertainment, then those are different things that you have to be aware of. And if you have your competition rider, they should have their own stream, their competition stream, so that they are not getting mixed up with the people who ride once a week in the recreational program, because it's difficult. It's more difficult to get a recreational rider who's not committed to understand what's happening as opposed to a person who's driven to do the competition. So you have to keep that in mind as well, that your lessons and your structure is based on the ability of the rider and the age appropriateness for the student.
So for me, as a coach and a rider, a good lesson for me is that I can walk out of my lesson and I can say to myself, I've learned something new, something improved, something got better, or did something get worse? Am I going backwards? There's also the negative part, right? Not every lesson if you're not going forward to, then you need to say, whoa, something's not working, right? And did I get the information in that lesson from that instructor or coach that I needed? Did they deliver and do I understand it? If you don't understand it, if you did a lesson but I don't understand what we did today, that coach didn't do their job.
Or why? Or why did I do that? Why?
Yeah.
Why? What's the purpose of it? Okay, so great. So why did I have to learn that? Where does it? And to me, the other one, an extra one, would be how each lesson fits in with the purpose of your own riding program. For as far as a coach goes, where does this lesson fit in with your own program that you're developing for this rider? But and also, where does this lesson fit in within that rider's program? Again, that goes
Yeah.
back to, is it a competition rider? Is it a recreational rider? Where does this fit in? And how is it going to progress the rider further? It's not just one day we're doing this course and the next day we're going to do a leg yield and then the next day we're going to do something else, and they're not fitting in. It should be as a progression within a yearly training or within your 10-week program that you've developed for this rider session, or within, if you're competition riders, your whole session, your whole cycle of training program. It's got to fit in there somewhere. It makes sense, not just
And
willy-nilly.
coaches, and your coach should be interacting with you. Not sitting on a chair having a margarita, not sitting in the middle on the mounting block, not leaning up against the fence. They need to be interacting with you.
Or this, or this.
Yeah, or texting, or on the phone, or hey, can you wait? You know, my friend's calling. That's not what lessons are. You know, people, they're paying for a lesson. They're paying for your time. They're paying for your attention. You can't sit on a mounting block and have the exercise behind you and expect that you can see everything, right? You know, and it does become a safety thing too. What happens if a horse ran into you and you couldn't get up quick enough? There's a lot of coaches that sit down. Maybe depending on if you're sitting down in an area where you can see everything, it could be a bit different. But I think, you know, if you're popping yourself in the middle of the arena and you're sitting on your phone texting or not paying attention, no, that's not being attentive.
Right, you have to be attentive. I think that maybe some instructors, if they're teaching for a long time, for you know, a duration for a day, that maybe they could, if there's they can be attentive, but maybe sit on the mounting block in the middle, that type of thing, just because they're standing for a long duration.
Yeah.
You know, but I like what you say. They should be paying attention to what's happening around them. Okay, so let's see now. Okay, that's good. All right, I want to remind people, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments here. I'd love to hear from you. And this podcast is sponsored by Equestrian Skill Builders. Become a thinking rider. You'll progress faster, ride effectively, and be extraordinary. You can get my free mini course called Ride in Harmony. Say goodbye to bad rides, and being understood by your horse just got easier. And I put that link to that course in the comments, so hope to see you there. Now, Patrick, what do you recommend if somebody, what should somebody do if they're not having a good lesson? So someone says to you, "Oh, geez, that was so boring," or "I don't know," or what should somebody do?
Go to their coach. Ask their coach. Ask their coach, you know, I'm not learning anything. I don't understand this, or.
So let's just a minute now. You say, I'm not learning anything. So if somebody came to me and said, I'm not learning anything, I would be very upset, because when I'm teaching, I put my heart and soul on the line there for people. And if they're not learning anything, is that my fault or is it their fault?
Well, I think the onus is on the coach. They're the ones that are doing they're the ones that have the ability and the knowledge. So the problem is that students won't do that. You know, they'll keep taking lessons and having trouble and problems, and maybe not meshing well, or not getting what they think they should, or not understanding, and they just keep repeating the same thing over and over. reality is that we all work well with different people. If you don't work well with somebody, you might work well with a different person. If you don't understand the way somebody teaches, maybe you don't work well with that person the way they teach. Maybe you need to go to somebody different. It doesn't mean that you don't appreciate that person, but there's somebody for everybody, right? Some people get, they work different with somebody that's more energetic. They don't work with somebody that's a little bit dull and quiet. Maybe they need somebody that gets them out of their shell. Maybe they need somebody that can joke around. And there's a whole aspect of, there's a lot of different personalities. There's a lot of different learning curves. And if you're not satisfactory, and I think a lot of the thing too is it's a more of a rider horse combination. If you own your own horse and you see things starting to not progress, you really have to ask yourself, what's going on? When did it start? How long has it been going on for? And what can I do to correct it? And you're the only person that can correct it. You make the decisions, you make your life decisions. So if you want to if something's not working and you've talked to your coach and they're not willing, or they're willing, who knows? Maybe you have to make a change. I think
So the first
we're
step
afraid
is
as humans, though, in a lot of aspects, and I really see this with horses and coaches, is a relationship they have with their coach. They're afraid to hurt their feelings. They're afraid to leave them. The girl down the street, the other barn, might start to badmouth them. It has nothing to do with hurting somebody's feeling. This is a business. It's a working relationship. You're not going to hurt. If you be honest and open and communicate, be honest with your coach. If it's not working and you just say, hey, I'm going to change coaches, or I'm going to try somebody different, maybe that person's going to work differently. The big, just communicate, it's a big
That's
thing.
the first one, isn't it? Is that if you're not satisfied with your lesson, talk to your coach, talk with the person who's delivering it and saying, hey,
Well,
I don't understand that. I don't understand what you're wanting me to do. I feel that I'm not progressing. I don't like this. Can we change it up? Just see if you can change it up a bit.
if you've had a bad meal at a restaurant and paid $50 for it, would you keep going back? It's the
That's
same
a
thing,
good way
right?
to put it.
So yeah.
Well, I got a tea at Tim Hortons the other day, and it wasn't tea; it was a coffee, and I took it back, and that was $1.25 something, $1.90 or $2 or something. So yeah, exactly. I took it back. I had good communication, and I said to them, I ordered a tea and I got a coffee instead. So they refunded me. But that's exactly what should happen. If you're not happy with your lesson, or if you feel that you're not progressing, go to your coach, ask them to develop a plan for you. And it's not just a plan for that one lesson, but the whole plan, a whole year that's going to take you from where you are now to where you want to be. That's exactly where we have to develop the program. That's the big thing that I see is missing from a lot of coaching, a lot of stables, is that the coaches go into the center of the ring and start teaching without understanding where it is they're going. Meaning, are they going to competition? When's their first competition? Of course, there's not a whole lot of competitions now this time of year. When's the competition? How are we going to get to the competition in a prepared manner? So, in developing the program to get to that competition, not just jump, 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 jump. Or if you're doing dressage, not just riding the test, riding the test, riding the test. There's got to be a progression, and there's got to be a plan for the whole year to get you where you want to be, not just jump a course.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is great, Patrick. I just want to thank everybody, and I want to tell people that I am going to be taking a break for a couple of weeks. And I'll see you at the middle of May. I'm just going to be taking a couple of weeks break here. I'll still be posting and stuff. And if you do have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. But do you have any final words, Patrick?
Just talk in your lessons, ask questions, take initiative, communicate, and do what's right for you. You're the one that's taken the lesson.
Yes, exactly. Those are all really good words. I like that. Communication and I can't even remember the other words you used, but I like them when you were saying them. All right, so I'll be taking a break for a couple of weeks. So see you in the middle of May, but you have to become a thinking rider and understand your horse. You'll progress faster, ride effectively, and be extraordinary. Now go use this stuff and go hug your horse. Oh, we got a comment here. Great. Laura Dickinson. Randy, you better change that. I'm upset. I don't even know who Laura Dickinson is. It's not Laura Dickinson, Randy. You can change that as soon as you like, Randy. You can change that. And I'm going to wait while you change it so I can put my own name up. I'm going to delete that actually, if I can. No, it won't let me delete it. All right. So thank you so much. I won't be live next week, but maybe I'll have something recorded for you. And hope to see you in middle of May. So thank you so much.